What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Josh Button Podcast. Episode 20. We're getting somewhere. I may just be getting used to this when I have time, when I'm not exhausted, when I'm not too beat up to get in front of this microphone. And I picked an interesting time of day to do it today, obviously. I'm in the sunshine, man. And I'm pretty stoked because I just dialed myself an ice bath for the house. And I had a little tub that I was using. But to be quite honest, it was too big. It took too much ice, too much water, and I had taken 2 ice baths in it in the month that I had it, and it got to be cumbersome. So I went back to a new school, old school technique that I had in California when I first got into ice baths. I bought a freezer, and I filled that thing with water. And I'll unplug it, obviously, when I sit in it, but that water's already really cold. I am stoked. And that practice is a game changer. Let me just tell you, if you've never taken ice baths, you've never done cold plunges, see if you can find one around and give it a shot. If you're up north, you can go jump in a lake, and it's good enough on a swimming pool during the winter. Even in California, where I was at the swimming pool during the winter there, when it would drop off, it would get it done. It would get it done. But, I love the breath work. I love Wim Hof, and I try to train five times a week, 10 in the morning every day, Monday through Friday. If I'm feeling real spry, I'll go in for open mat on Saturday for a class, then open mat. And I have gone through stages and periods when I train 7 days a week. I think I can do that consistently when I'm taking the ice baths and when I have that around. But if I don't, really, I found the recovery is just a lot harder. It's not as easy as it used to be. But anyways, off subject. This week has been interesting for me because I've had a couple people in my life that I consider friends. One I look up to. I've already had him on the podcast, and another friend of mine that I've gone back and forth over this subject with for years. And for some reason, the flat Earth, maybe because of the clip I took out of the last podcast, has been coming up in conversation a good bit. And it's one of those things. It's super important. It's like the most important thing in obviously in our lives, is where we live. But at the same time, with what's going on in the world and current events and things that we've all been exposed to in the last few years, it's really not the most important thing in the world. Although there is no bigger lie, in my opinion. And no, I can't sit here and tell you definitively I know the exact shape of the Earth. I know where the boundaries are. I know what the territory is mapped out like. I can't tell you that. The term extraterrestrial could very much and very well mean extraterrestrial, extra lands, beyond the lands that we're aware of, beyond what's on our map. And my belief is the globe is our map wrapped around a sphere, a ball. And as Neil deGrasse Tyson says, it's an oblate spheroid, yet they give you these images of perfectly round spheres that they've promoted as being Earth our entire lifetimes. The globe was one of the most influential things that we were exposed to super young. A lot of kids had these on their cradles, on their first bed in life. They had this hanging globe object, and then you go to school in kindergarten and first grade. The teacher had one right there in the classroom, and it was always an object for our attention and something that we would look at and spin it around and check out the countries and look on the other side of the earth. Here's Australia, here's Asia. And in these conversations that have come up, it's quite clear a lot of people are not ready for it, will probably never be ready for it. I have people that are really close to me that are like, look, we must agree to disagree on this, because it really upsets them. It really bothers them. It bothers them that they are having to process the reality that I believe so much differently than they do. And they're not going to entertain the actual thought themselves They'll listen to you say the words, but completely just in one ear and out the other. And if you discuss it more than once or bring it up more than once, you'll find that a lot of times people are just very upset by it. I've lost friendships over this. I had one buddy of mine who, the reaction that he had to it coming up in conversation or in messages on Instagram, it was absolutely mind-boggling to me, because I didn't respond the same way. I hate this word, triggered. I'm not going to use the stupid word, triggered. I wasn't bothered by it. I wasn't upset by it when it first came up. I laughed, and like I said, I mocked and ridiculed the individuals that had proposed this the first time to me. And it was a joke. To me, it was a joke. I was like, these people cannot possibly be serious. It became clearer and clearer that they were, and more evident that they were going to stick to this belief and that it was going nowhere. And that's, at some point in time, when these people are that close to you and their conviction is so strong, eventually maybe perhaps you will entertain parts of it. And if you do, there is that saying, once you go flat, you don't go back. And for myself, I can definitely say that. I will never believe heliocentrism and the proposed globe model that was taught to us our whole lives. Not because I know what it is, but because I know what it isn't. And the elimination of the propositions that were presented as factual is life-changing. It's absolutely fundamentally life-changing. If they will lie about that, what will they not lie about? And they is an interesting topic, because how did they monopolize information, and how did they monopolize thought on what was accepted in this via theories? Because you and I have never traveled 100 miles into the air and looked at Earth, and they're banking on that. Gravity and all of these other things that were proposed as factual, and the abject reasoning for the way the world is just like the media. In my opinion, it's just like the media. If you can turn on CNN, Fox, and MSNBC, NBC, CBS, all of these other networks, and you notice that you're getting the same exact messaging across these news programs, no matter how far from the truth the messages may be, they're absolutely synchronized messaging. And everything, I believe everything that comes across that TV comes across for a reason. Even sports. Sports obviously are bread and circus, and you give us bread and circus, we'll never actually revolt. But everything beyond the news and sports, the entertainment, it comes across the TV for a reason. It is mind control. They are brainwashing us from a very young age. And the things that we accept as truths because of that programming and conditioning, there's a lot of subjects that, if you dive into, are just absolutely positively wrong. They are false. And you have to ask yourself sooner or later, why is that? Why are my doctors so wrong? Just because they work within a system that's built upon profit, because they're making so much money off of sick individuals? Is that why they're so wrong? Was it created this way? Was it created to harm us, hurt us, or just to make money off of us? And harming us and hurting us is just a byproduct of more profit and greed. What if we did know the truth? What if we collectively knew the truth about our bodies and our human capabilities, our resilience, our own ability to heal, and our body's ability to heal? What if we were all aware that we have unlimited lives, and that we are limitless and we are boundless, and that what we dream, what we believe, what we can create in our mind, we can create here physically. That we could overcome mountains of challenges. And the magnitude at which we could rise to the occasion could not possibly ever be measured. Because if we knew what we were truly capable of, we wouldn't depend on people that really, well, they're not that dependable, first and foremost, but they're not really what they present themselves to be either. I believe we misunderstand and do not know far more than we do understand or we do know. I 100% truly believe that. And I believe that the person and persons that promote themselves as experts on individual subjects have fallacies to most of their understanding. We can't help it. This has been given to us in a manner that was, well, fraudulent. For many different reasons. I don't think everything's built on greed, but control. A system which serves the few so that the rest of us can, well, continue to be fed upon. They feed off of our energy. They feed off of our work, off of our labor, off of our blood, our organs, our fear. I've talked about the systems that are in place economically and agency-wide as far as the intelligence agencies and the bureaucracies that have been created here. And what do? Generally, they slow us down and they impede our growth. They make us dependent upon them. And they don't make it easy. They don't make it easy to attain freedom in this system. Just because you have the illusion of choice doesn't mean you are actually free. One of the hardest things for me when I was in a career where I felt like, things were handed to me occasionally. And I was good at what I did. I believed that. I know that. And I believed that I could be the best version of myself for it. But I wasn't really serving a major purpose. And I certainly wasn't working every day and feeling satisfied by it. And with that downtime, I wasn't making myself a better person all the time. I wasn't driven to do more because of, my own personal problems, my own challenges. I was thinking about the moment too much and giving into and indulging in momentary happiness and bliss. And it really wasn't any of that, just comfort. And comfort is a drug. We have all lived comfortable lives. And yes, there's plenty of people that are out there that are struggling. And there's plenty of people out there that, have had a tough time here and there and are having tough times now. But if you look back, we are living in a really almost easy day and age to just survive. Not to thrive. I'll give you that. It is tough to thrive in an environment where we are polluted with misinformation and we are fed upon by jackals. And I believe that none of us are going to be able to dodge all the traps of society where we're at now. But you got to admit, to be born and raised in America, you had it pretty good. If you don't believe that, you haven't traveled enough. You haven't been abroad enough. Because you could see real struggles that we haven't had to face collectively nearly as much. And our problems are what they call first world problems. So we come to subjects like the flat earth, or come to subjects like NASA is a complete lie. NASA in Hebrew means the deceiver or to deceive. Consensus, I've said many times, is a consensus. When in history was the majority right about anything. And now is one of those times where just in the last 5+ years, I've seen momentum, and I've seen more and more and more people open to the conversation, open to the dialogue, and more people realizing that we've been lied to. Even if more people aren't emphatically sharing what Earth is or where we've been lied to about the shape of the Earth, there's more and more people becoming aware that, wow, NASA is nothing more than a money pit. And they're giving us cartoons, they're giving us CGI and Photoshop, and they admit as much. They've destroyed the technology that they supposedly used to go to the moon. Who was on the moon to video this? I mean, if you really went piece by piece and broke it down, you would realize that the entire program's been based upon deception the entire time. And you have to ask yourself why. Why? Just to beat Russia in the space race in the Cold War? Look, major countries around the world have joined an agreement called the Antarctic Treaty. If you've checked that out, you have to ask yourself, are the wars that we're fighting or that we're afraid of being fought, are they what we are being told they are? What we're being presented? Are we just supposed to be afraid of that? In America, we've had threat levels since 2001. Threat level orange, threat level red, all these other terrorist threat levels. Nothing more than fear. And I'm not saying that there are no terrorists. Most of them are within the agencies themselves. They create these things so that they can further their agenda and get us to sponsor their foreign policy and their destabilizing of other countries. We give away our own rights out of the same fears that they present to us. With all of the reasons that we have to distrust the authorities and all of the knowledge that we have about the agreements that they've made between each other, well, the world is a stage, and how can we believe anything that's going on in this theatrical presentation? And our life has been a lot of theatrical presentation. Secret societies aside, there are non-disclosure agreements that many of people in high places and people that were earning their way to the forefront of organizations that are massive, they have signed. They have signed non-disclosures that are absolutely, well, they're tight. They're tight. People aren't going to come out and speak out against organizations that have already got them by the balls, so to speak. And they do. They will take away everything from these people. They will lock them up and throw away the key if they were military or they were contractors. William Cooper. I mean, forget even William Cooper. There's actually just been handfuls and handfuls and handfuls of people that predicted their own death and their own demise because they knew what they were doing. That was the consequences. The consequences of speaking out and telling the truth has often been death. It's often been destruction, complete and total destruction. And yet, we've cast these people aside time and time again, even when their deaths and their destruction did come to fruition. Look at Hollywood. How many people in Hollywood did we think were on the absolute top of the world? They were on absolute top of the world and have either committed suicide or had their careers ruined by the media. Been dragged through the mud, beat up, beat down, and left for dead. These people were extremely successful, and once upon a time, we looked up to them. Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby, Robin Williams, look at the rock stars, Chris Cornell. There's just so many that Kurt Cobain. There's just so many. I couldn't sit here and list them all. Specifically, there's been so many that have died by the red tie. That one in itself, it's almost a message from someone. as to when you get out of line, this is how you're going to go. And you are made an example of for getting out of line, for speaking the truth. What about the astronauts? They wouldn't swear on a Bible when they were given the chance many a times to swear on the Bible that you landed on the moon. They were defensive and angry and aggressive. And look at Buzz Aldrin. He's let things slip time and time again about not going to the moon or about wanting to know more himself as to why we haven't gone back, and then admitted almost as much that because we didn't go in the first place. If you seriously inspect NASA, and I mean, there's mice in space. I mean, mice. The International Space Station has had more errors with their live stream than they would like to admit, that's for sure. But you can find them online. You can find them. I like Elon Musk when he shot the car into space and he was doing a press conference or an interview, whatever it was, and he said, "You can tell it's real because it looks so fake." I think you're stupid. I mean, he also tweeted the other day, "Believe what you see, not what you're told." I thought that was really interesting. And he's an interesting character because the last couple of years, he's definitely changed his tune on so much, or it seems has been the message bearer for a lot of different issues. And you call it red pilling the masses, but for a lot of different subject matter, which would meant nothing coming from me or from someone on the right or from lesser known individuals. But these things coming from Elon Musk, there's a lot of people thinking about them. They have no choice. Look, we were gotten to very young, and it was done on purpose. And they say that you are pretty much programmed your first 7 years of life, and our parents do and are responsible for the majority of it. This monkey see, monkey do kind of thing. And what's normal in those first 7 years is normal for the rest of our life, most of it, which is why the MK Ultra mind control is people that are abused, horrifically abused, very young. And they control these people through ritualistic abuse. But the rest of us, I believe it's ritualistic abuse on another level, even if it's just watching the television and having that globe hanging in your bassinet and going to school and getting messaging from your teachers and downloading programming that was intended to slow you down, to dumb you down, and to hinder your growth, or to leave you thinking some absurdities for the rest of your life. How hard is it to unlearn what we learned in those first 7 years? This is absolute brain twister to be open to the idea that you've been fooled. It's easier to fool a man than to convince him he's been fooled. I believe it's Twain. It's a very famous quote. And it's so true. It is so true, especially with subjects that we would never, ever, ever imagined that was a lie or that there was any manipulation in, like the globe. And I'm going to go into flat Earth because the curvature is missing. The proposed mathematics just do not align with experiment. And they, if you paid attention to this in the last few years, have put forth oh my goodness, an amazing amount of effort to bury flat Earth and truthers and to bring about all kinds of debunking videos and debunking write-ups all on the top pages of Google. And if you use Google, may I humbly recommend another browser. Not that there's any perfect ones out there, but I use Brave and go deeper than the first couple pages on most everything. Never go to Snopes. Look, misinformation is only so effective because it's presented as the consensus, as the top of all these search engines. And if the top 5 things tell you flat Earth has been debunked and it's a conspiracy theory, or the globe is, fact, and dig a little deeper. By the time you come to realize that there is so much momentum on the side of, truth, and there's so much momentum on the side of the people that are skeptical of what we've been programmed with and told our whole lives, you're in for a rude awakening on some level. So why not make it now? Why not seriously go and debunk us? Go debunk people like myself that are asking, where's the curvature? 200 proofs the Earth is not a spinning globe. There's a book that's 100 proofs the Earth is not a spinning globe. I just ordered that one. And Eric Dubay, I don't know, like him, hate him, whether he's a shill, whether he's an operative, I don't know about him personally, but I do know that a lot of the information he's presented is viable. And there's been plenty of people in this movement, if that's what you want to call it, that have been questionable on certain things. Questionable. But that's the same in every single network and every community there are out there. There is always going to be imperfections. There's always going to be questions that should be raised, and rightfully so. Raise them, do due diligence, and check these things out. But be open. Why not? Why not? You have nothing to lose by actually entertaining conflicting ideas. Somebody else said that. That was an interesting quote. It was the gauge of a really intelligent person is being able to entertain differing points of view or differing ideas and not be attached or not be, bothered by it. Check them out. Debunk us. Anyways, just something I wanted to drop in on this Friday afternoon and talk about, because it's come up so much this past week or so. And we're going to get into it a little bit, for sure. I hope to have a couple people on that will, present rather convincing arguments and maybe convince a few of you to look into it. As Eddie Bravo says, look into it. We could be wrong, man. Debunk us. Help us out. Show us where we are so wrong. This is episode 20. We are getting there, ladies and gentlemen. If you are on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're one of my listeners on one of the other channels, hit that bell or to subscribe or whatever it is. Keep coming back, because I'm going to keep coming in here and dropping some bombs on NASA specifically pretty soon. Anyways, it's been real. I'm going to go take an ice bath. Thanks for joining me. I will talk to you all soon.